Alright, let's go. Welcome to the Mega Vampire Google Slideshow. I'll be here telling you why you need to spend $50 on this Switch visual novel BL game. Now, this game is a yaoi. I'll be telling you stuff about the lore of a mega vampire, our main character, and 4 different routes that we can do, and romance. They're all romanceable. About the world of Omega Vampire. This is a world where humans and vampires share a bare minimum coexistence. You have many bad vampires who stay hidden in society and only attack at night, but then there are still good vampires around. With the development of X-Blood from this Aoi pharmaceutical research company, they've perfected the use of artificial source of blood. They made this thing called X-Blood. Now, this is a picture of werewolves, werewolves, humans, and vampires coexisting and becoming best friends together. With X-Blood, you have many vampires coming out of their closet going, I am a vampire, but I would wish to coexist with humans. So, with X-Blood, the Aoi pharmaceutical company has perfected the use of it. They've done it. They've had, with the rising sales of X-Blood, you have people who are like highly respected positions, like TV, movie show actors, coming out and saying that they're vampires, but obviously they're still bad vampires. But vampires are trying to break the mold that they want to be friends with humans too. This is a picture of Keiichi, our main character, seeing all the different types of blood types for X-Blood, and they all look the same. That's just how perfect they've perfected the artificial source of blood. Anyway, with our main character to start off, Moriya Keiichi. He is a normal beta human. This will become important later on. And he's a high school student. He was born in a family with a big dad and a little dad, but ever since a accident happened where a crazy vampire just broke into their homes and got the two of them, this just left Keiichi hating vampires ever since that incident. But the story takes place, and Keiichi goes home after a normal day of school. His teachers have always told students to go home always immediately, because when you stay out too late, out in the dark, bad things happen, and there will be bad vampires. Now, Keiichi wanders around before going home, and he hears that someone's getting bullied in the alleyway. He goes to inspect and sees what's happening, and he sees knockoff Bakugo bullying knockoff Deku. Keiichi threatens to call the police, but then Bakugo chases him down, and Keiichi gets in a car accident where a truck rams him. Now, he doesn't go isekaiing, but he wakes up and is on a hospital bed. Your best friend works at the Aoi pharmaceutical research company. That's where they took you in. And he goes, Eureka! We did it! You're alive! And in that moment, he tells you to wear a collar. Now, this collar is an Omega collar. And this means that Moriya Keiichi is not a normal human beta anymore. Since that day and that accident, he's now turned a new life and is living as an Omega vampire. But not just any Omega vampire. He is an Omega half human, half vampire. Now, this comes with superhuman capabilities where he's super fast. This is him avoiding a knife attack from Bakugo. And besides that, vampires have regenerative abilities, but Keiichi regenerates a bit slower. And the one thing that makes Keiichi very, very different from others is that he can actually go to in class or go to school because he's half human, half vampire. Like, vampires don't like the sun. And Keiichi could go because he's half and half. But whatever. So there are two options to go from there. You can either stay around and listen to your best friend speak absolutely crazy stuff that you're an omega vampire now, or you can escape the hospital and outrun the police. For the other three routes, you do run from the police, and running from the police, there's vampires following you because it just so happens to be your first heat and you don't have medicine for it. Keiichi never has medicine, and he gets chased down by a vampire, but because Keiichi's been stinking up the entire alleyway, and he leads him to a dead end. Now in that moment, it leads us to our first character that we meet, besides the best friend, because he would save you from the vampire encounter. Now, this is Ooizumi Genma. This is probably not in order, but he's like the second person or route that you meet. He is an alpha, and he's leader of Japan's Red Clan Society. He's from the Edo period. He's really studied the blade while everybody else is hoeing around. He has an ex, and he has a pet dog that sims for him. That's really about it. Yeah, okay. So with the Red Clan Society members, these are people who are vegan vampires. Also, there's a werewolf in there. Just that'll be important later. And they want to coexist with humans and police other vampires who are bad and save humans. Yes. There's Red Clan Society members from all over the place. These are just Japan's top bunch, looking like wet dogs. But the moment you meet Genma, he has a sword at his hilt, and he asks you, Keiichi an important question: whether he's truly human or a vampire. And depending from that, I don't remember what happens, but he still takes you under his wing. So now you're a school student by day because you kind of promised your doctor senpai friend that you just go to school like normal and he'll just read your vitals just in case because you're a specimen. And Red Clan Society member at night, so you would help humans from vampires and all the sort, and also drink X blood, because that's epic. Keiichi is so down bad for this grandpa. Like, Keiichi just, like, Keiichi absolutely has no pull. He's just, like, begging for things to happen, but Genma is so oblivious to Keiichi's advances that obviously he's oblivious. He's only studied the way of the blade, and the last person he was ever so close to was with his ex. But there's this specific scene that was really cute, and that was Keiichi wondering where Genma was, and some Red Clan Society member tells Keiichi that he's sleeping in his coffin, and Keiichi decides to go find where he is. He like takes the coffin lid off and like snuggles up right next to him, and Genma wakes up, and Keiichi goes, "Oh, this reminded me of when I had to choose coffins for my two dads with my grandpa, and I've always wondered if a coffin was this comfortable." And then they both snuggle and sleep together in his coffin, but okay. So things start kicking up when the Red Clan Society members receive a bottle of wine. With this bottle of wine, Genma knows exactly who sent them this, because this is no ordinary bottle of wine. It's actually a bottle of human blood. Now, with Genma, he was immediately just gonna go straight there. But as Keiichi has always practiced and like uh wait. Yes, he's always practiced with Genma, like fighting and things like that, and honing his like Omega vampire abilities, learning um the sword and everything. Keiichi was not going to let Genma do things by himself because what was the point? What was the point of them training together and things like that? So Keiichi decides to go with him. But then this is where the other Red Clan Society members hear about their mission, and they decided to get only one change of clothes for Keiichi because he's an anomaly. He's an Omega vampire who was recently changed, so we might as well just like give you a spare change of clothes. But the spare change of clothes was him cross-dressing in his normal high school outfit, just like with a skirt and pigtails and panties. But it changes absolutely nothing. Bro was fooling nobody. He's not. Despite him trying to like change his manner of speaking, he was not fooling anybody around. So the place that Genma goes is, or that all of you guys are trying to sneak in, is a underground fight club. Now, this underground fight club is where you can meet the big baddie who sent him the bottle of wine. And to be able to meet up with him is that you're supposed to fight through all of the brackets of the underground fight club, and whoever wins the brackets will personally get to meet up with the big baddie. At some point, I think Genma tells you lore about his family and stuff like that, and that he used to be human, but he was turned into a vampire by his ex. And that ex is actually the big baddie that they're trying to face now. Apparently, way back then, they both used to be they both used to be something. They hunted humans together, but Genma changed his ways and started becoming vegan, and that was bad. And so they're exes now. But that was the very same dude who changed him into a vampire. So sad. So now they finally win the brackets, and then the big baddie shows up, and the big baddie goes, "You're not fooling anybody with that costume." And Keiichi takes off his cross-dressing costume, and I don't know if he did anything cool there, but yeah. And then Keiichi and Genma hold hands together and go, "We're gonna defeat you with the power of gay and friendship." So they both styled on the big baddie. But the thing is, Genma does not want Keiichi to take part in fighting all these really violent fights, because Keiichi is still half human after all, and he doesn't have really good regenerative abilities. So Genma's been trying to fight him, the big baddie, one-on-one, but Genma's losing. And he's losing like limbs, he's bleeding a lot and things like that, and still regenerating. But then the big baddie goes, "Wow, you're not as strong anymore. If only you were drinking actual human blood, you wouldn't be as weak as a like vegan or something." Like, this guy he was mad. And in that moment, Keiichi wonders what to do. What can he do? Genma's trying to have him to not fight him. So what was he gonna do? He was just gonna watch and see Genma bleed out on the floor? So while Keiichi holds Genma close, he, I don't know, at some point thought to drink Genma's blood. And in the very next moment, he turns into Alpha Keiichi, and I think I'm missing something. No, I think no. Your best friend gets kidnapped at some point, or maybe it's a different route. But he tells you, "Drink his blood." while he's being kept in a cage somewhere. So you hear this and you just decide to drink Genma's blood, I guess, and just transform yourself into Alpha Keiichi. But besides that, Keiichi cannot do things on his own. He gently puts Genma down and then styled all over the place. He's Alpha Keiichi now. Now he can fight toe to toe with this big baddie. And then they did. It'd be like I'm Dragon Ball, like teleporting throughout all these places, sharing like punches and stuff like that. But Keiichi was much more stronger for some reason. And he like punched him through like the ceiling like 50 times, or like through however many ceilings, that the global Red Clan Society took notice and they captured the big baddie. And then they gave Keiichi a handshake because, wow, Keiichi. Like, if you didn't do that, we wouldn't have noticed that this guy has been hiding out here. He's been doing a lot of bad things, like changing people into vampires and stuff. Like, we thank you guys for finding out this guy. Thank you, Japan's Red Clan Society. Thank you, Keiichi Moriya. And Keiichi be like, oh, I'm just a high school student. And he passes out. Besides that, the global Red Clan Society was going to take the big baddie and send him to the Antarctic and freeze him forever so that he can never leave. But it's pretty much a happy ending and everything. Yeah. In the next moment, when Keiichi passes out, he passes out in, like, I don't know, Genma's arms or something, because they done it. Keiichi sees a, like, life tree, like the thing you'd see in Attack on Titan, the blue tree of life, and he sees another version, another Keiichi, right at the base of the tree. Now Keiichi talks to Keiichi, and there are a few questions that this other Keiichi asks you, and the other Keiichi asks Keiichi whether he can accept being an Omega or a vampire, internally and externally. So there are two questions, internally and externally. So there are 3 different endings we can get here. The first ending is actually it made me speechless. The first ending happens where you choose that you are an Omega internally and Omega externally. So Omega. And since, after choosing that, the other Keiichi looks at Keiichi a little funny and goes, wow, you're looking like a snack. I want to do things with you. And they proceed to do things together, getting a little distracted and everything. And this shifts perspective to your best friend who's working at the research company, and he's been monitoring your vitals and everything like that. But then he goes, wait, there's no way. There's no way this is happening. And the friend like pulls out a gun and like shoots his subordinates who were trying to like comfort him, but did not know this whole thing was this serious. And then the friend decides to off himself right after that. It turns out that after he read the vitals from like, I don't know how far away, he managed to read the vitals that Keiichi, although unconscious, got himself pregnant. And it was the end of the world. And he just had to do things to his team and just like get out of there, because I guess, I don't know, and it just ends from there. You don't even know what happens. Like, what, how did Keiichi get himself pregnant in a dream state and he's unconscious? And that was, yeah, it leaves you with more questions than anything, but that was one of the endings you could get. The second one is if you choose that you're alpha. But this Omega vampire game is obviously so alpha phobic that they're just like, oh no, we're both alphas now, and we can't get along together. And then it just ends because this game is so alpha phobic, they don't know what to do with it. But whatever then. Besides that, the last ending is if you either, I think it was that you choose that you're alpha internally and then omega outwardly. It's one or the other. You guys, well, Keiichi wakes up in Genma's coffin, the one that he slept at in the very beginning, and it turns out that Genma's been IV dripping himself to Keiichi, and Keiichi's been unconscious for either 3 days or 3 months, and he's so happy that Keiichi's back to normal again, and then they like exchange rings in the dark basement and happily ever aftered from there. But that's basically it for his route. The next route is Shizuru Hakuro. He is a werewolf who is part of the Red Clan Society. He is a huge simp for Genma, and he's Omega. In this Omega vampire world, there are also werewolves, but they face the threat of extinction because werewolves have been heavily hunted down by humans. That's pretty much it. With Hakuro, Hakuro's been super jealous of Keiichi because Keiichi's obviously the new recruit of the Red Clan Society. So obviously he'd be learning all the tips and tricks from the leader of the Red Clan Society, Genma. But every time Keiichi gets super close to Genma and stuff like that, Hakuro absolutely hates it. But Genma keeps putting them on the same like rescue missions and stuff like that, and even sending Hakuro to school in the same classroom as him, which is funny. And Hakuro was like, he was throwing a tantrum because he didn't want to go to school. And Hakuro was probably like hundreds of years old too. Like, why is he going to school with this dumbass, with this freaking dude? So he goes to school with Keiichi. He has like a picture of Genma showering in his wallet that he like kisses and sleeps with at night and stuff like that. At some point, things go down when both of you guys are on a mission, and you guys are like over the top of a hill peering at like some moonlight or the moon, and Hakuro goes, Keiichi, I gotta tell you something. I had this best friend named Mio. We were probably the only 2 werewolves left because our parents were gone, and he was my best friend, and then we played lots together, but then he was captured by humans, and then I got away safe. And since then, I don't even know where Mio is, but I felt like I had to tell you all these things, Keiichi. And Keiichi probably goes like, damn, that's deep. Anyway, like, Hakuro, what's weird is that Hakuro tells these things to Keiichi and also goes, man, I don't even know why I'm telling you about this, but I just felt like I had to. And this is a reoccurring theme. Anyway, with Hakuro, the next mission they had to do was guard the Red Clan Society member meeting. Like, all the elites were sitting there in the back, and Hakuro and Keiichi were out in the front and guarding the secret meeting from, well, yeah. But then Keiichi and Hakuro decided that they both would get drunk, and they banter a lot. Keiichi's banter would be like, well, you haven't kissed anyone, have you? And Hakuro would be like, shut up, I'm gonna pee in your room, and things like that. In the next moment, Hakuro passes out, and Genma wakes him up, and Genma goes, where's Keiichi? Now, as Hakuro, because you have like super sense of smell, you find Keiichi at a abandoned warehouse, and then Genma shows up again, following him. But then Keiichi's just left there, and it's like, oh, where's Hakuro? And it turns out that the real kidnapping suspect was Hakuro, and they had to lure Keiichi out somehow. So I guess they did 2 kidnappings or something, sort of. So the Red Clan Society members found out that Hakuro was being held at the Aoi Pharmaceutical Research Company. Now this was weird. This is weird. Besides that, there are a whole bunch of anti-vampire security. There are like red lasers and a whole bunch of cameras and stuff like that. The Red Clan Society members obviously couldn't do this by themselves, but the only person who can bypass all of those security, and it has like superhuman abilities and stuff like that, who could do it? It's Keiichi. Because, remember, he's half human, half vampire. That means regular vampire stuff doesn't apply to him. So Keiichi goes off. He goes solo mission up in there. And he actually makes it. He makes it to the place and sees that Hakuro's being kept in a test tube. Then the big baddie reveals himself to be a purple guy. And the purple guy pulled out some, like, marble or something. And this completely brainwashes Hakuro to change himself into, like, dog mode. And he releases Hakuro, but Hakuro is completely... He was doing the guy's biddings. So, he told Hakuro to sick him. And Hakuro bites Keiichi. But Keiichi's like, Hakuro, don't you remember me? I'm Keiichi, your best buddy and partner. And obviously Hakuro doesn't know that because he's dog mode. But in the moment that Hakuro bites Keiichi, Keiichi's blood flows into his bloodstream. But this was never talked about. But Keiichi's blood happens to be crazy as white blood cells or something that detected all of Hakuro's brainwashed cells and eradicated them. So now Hakuro's back to normal somehow. In the next moment, purple guy pulls out a whole bunch of dudes with black suits and guns. At some point, Keiichi drinks Hakuro's blood, and he goes alpha vampire all over the place. But before that, purple guy reveals his supermassive, awesome plan, where he unveils a curtain in the back, and this housed a test tube, but there was someone in there. It was Hakuro's best friend, Mio, the only other werewolf around. And yes, werewolves have faced the threat of extinction, so this meant that purple guy had to make clones of Mio, a whole bunch of clones. Now, why would he be doing this? Well, he wants to create a werewolf nuclear super war weapon, and that they would all do his bidding. Anyway, so, Keiichi, alpha'd all over the place, and he took care of all the guards and everything. And meanwhile, Hakuro goes to his best friend Mio. He shares a moment and says goodbye to him and pulls the plug. And so, you guys have a happy ending. Go to there's a scene where you guys are at the building and stuff like that. What building? I don't know. It was some fancy dinner restaurant. You guys were talking about things, and then Keiichi tops, by the way. So you guys have a happy ending. The other bad ending happens is if I don't think you cared about Hakuro that much, so you were a little late to the party, and Keiichi goes alpha vampire all over the place, and it turns out that the only survivor left, besides Keiichi, was a clone of Hakuro. And it was a baby clone. Now, obviously Keiichi's super upset and everything, and Genma sees this, but at some point Keiichi decides to take baby Hakuro under his wing, like he's a single mother, and takes care of baby Hakuro. And then there's a CG where he's holding baby Hakuro and peering over like some like sunset bridge view, and Genma's like walking towards him, and is like, oh, what'll you do with this baby Hakuro then in the future if he becomes like bad? And Keiichi goes, well, we'll see. Maybe I have to put him down and I'll have to be the one to do it. Or something like that. Yeah, that's how that worked. I don't remember any other bad endings, but that's pretty much it for Hakuro there. The next route is Heinrich Schellenberg. This guy is German, I think, but he's a popular TV show idol club owner. He's obviously an alpha. That's pretty much it. He's Genma's ex. This is the dude who changed him into a vampire, and they got some spicy thing going on, but this was never talked about. But that's pretty much it. Doing this guy's route, you have to get along with the Red Clan Society members for a bit, but then at some point, Heinrich kidnaps your best friend, the doctor friend, and you either go by yourself or go with the Red Clan Society members, which leads to Genma's route where you guys kind of save him and stuff like that. I think. Or you could just go solo mission and save him yourself, which, why? But okay. So you want to join Heinrich's bad baddie squad and everything, and Heinrich gives you a bottle of wine just to drink, or a glass actually, and this is the pact, this is the contract. If you refuse it, it just straight game overs you, but it's not just any game over. He puts you in a Capri Sun farm. That's pretty much it, and you're just stuck there for eternity without any sense to figure out what's going on with you, and that you can't move or do anything. Besides that, you drink the bottle of wine, the glass of wine, and Keiichi's he's being kept as his personal something or whatever, and is doing his bidding. But then you kind of learn the ropes with his henchmen, and his henchmen are kind of silly. You guys go on like missions where you brainwash other people to like signing contracts so that they would like sell their hikikomori son to go away to a Capri Sun farm. But it's totally okay because they can still play games while getting like blood drawn and stuff like that. This is perfect for them, you know? And the second is, for some reason, like advertising a bar and strip club. And this is with Keiichi. Like, he's still in high school. This guy probably doesn't have any other change of clothes. He's always in uniform for some reason. But everybody else in the game, like, absolutely hates Heinrich. Everybody hates this guy. Except for Keiichi's best friend, Tani, which is the dude with glasses. Like, he's such a sucker for him because Heinrich's a movie show actor. He's a stuntman. He does everything, and that's so cool. And Keiichi knows this guy. Wow, that's amazing. But with Heinrich, at some point, I don't even know. I don't know what kind of relationship Heinrich and Keiichi has. It's the sort of like, I can't let this cat loose and as the alpha energy or something. And Keiichi's supposed to be the cat, and he always runs around and does his own things, but, you know, obviously still has his own purpose for doing things, like saving your best friend, because he's still being held at some underground prison, but okay. Things start kicking around when you guys sleep together, and Heinrich tells Keiichi about his lore. He goes, Keiichi, I don't even know why I'm telling you this, but I feel like I have to. So Heinrich tells him about his lore. He used to be part of some like well-off family. He was like aristocrat or something, like a really respected person. He had a little village and all of that. And he had a wife, but his wife passed away, so he has a son. And things changed ever since that day. That day that a really white, pale-skinned femboy twink showed up, and Heinrich was absolutely so enamored by this guy. And this one day happens, and the twink gives Heinrich some blood vial or bottle to drink, and he goes, trust me, just drink this. And Heinrich passes out because it was so painful or something, but it was worth it because, you know, maybe he'd get to see the femboy twink again. But then the next day he wakes up, and apparently everybody in the village, or everything was super quiet. There was nothing around. And he inspects a little closer. There are lots of people on the floor, just like completely sucked dry. Now what happened? He goes back to his home and sees the femboy twink there. And what happened next was that the twink tells him that he was sent here by the kingdom to eradicate the village. So he basically sucked off everybody, in the village, just to spite Heinrich. Now, why would he do that and only leave Heinrich alive? Well, you know, maybe he did kind of like him. That's why he gave him blood vial and everything. But then he just, like, left after that. So Heinrich's super mad, because he thought he trusted him. And so he rages. And he rages at the thing, the very thing that he sees in the corner of his vision, and it just so happens to be his son. So he accidentally murdered his own son. And Heinrich tells Keiichi all of this, and Keiichi goes, damn, that's deep. But he doesn't really say that. It's just like, yeah, like, wow, I didn't know you had this. You've been holding this up for all these years. Wow, Heinrich. Anyway, in the next moment, Heinrich asks Keiichi to ask his doctor friend to give him the password of to his collar, to his Omega collar, because maybe, you know, he could finally mark Keiichi as his or something like that. So Keiichi goes to the underground prison area to free his friend and take him back home and escort him. And that friend tells Keiichi, I will give you the passcode, but you must never give the passcode to anybody else, because this is life-changing. This is life-altering. You can't let this guy own you, Keiichi. But besides that, the friend gives Keiichi, like, a bottle of poison just to be careful with the next time that he sees Heinrich. And the second is a blood vial. Now he tells Keiichi that this is the very blood vial that Heinrich's probably been looking for. This is like the centuries old millennial vampire blood that he used to experiment on Keiichi, and it like completely changed him from a normal beta human to a mega vampire. Like, it gave him life. This is important. This is super important. Like, they found this ancient millennial vampire blood in the Antarctic and everything, and it drives people crazy. Sometimes it's not very compatible with some people, and it's just it's highly sought after by vampires, because this vampire blood is so strong that it can rule the world and everything of that sort. So anyway, Keiichi goes back. He sleeps with Heinrich one more time. I'm missing some things. Yeah, this is Keiichi. on his odd job to advertise right outside in front of a strip club in his high school uniform. Yeah, this makes a lot of sense, but okay. Where was I? What? Where? I don't remember. Yeah, so Heinrich and Keiichi sleep together for one last time, and Keiichi decides to try poison Heinrich in that moment. But obviously, Heinrich is like centuries old. Like, if he passed away from some stupid kid poisoning him, like, it'd be pathetic. So he obviously knew that Keiichi was gonna do that. So he sends Keiichi to jail and takes the millennial century vampire blood from him, because finally he can like drink it, and then it'd be perfect. He'd be so strong. At some point he did drink the blood vial, but it just didn't seem too compatible. But he's just like, fuck it, well, we'll try. So he sends Keiichi to prison, and Keiichi just so happens to not have his medicine or anything, so he's been stinking up the entire prison underground, and some security passed by it. They're a little like distracted by Keiichi, but he's still behind the thing. Some time passes, he's still distracted, and he sees a familiar face, and this is Hakuro. Apparently, Hakuro has been hoeing himself to Heinrich for some reason. Like, there's a CG where he was on top of him and everything. Now, why the hell is Hakuro here? Well, it turns out that Genma was so worried about Keiichi that Keiichi was the only thing he could talk about, because, you know, Keiichi joined the Red Clan Society members, and now for some reason is with Heinrich. He's gotta, I don't know, he's gonna do something about that. And Hakuro is super jealous of that he decided to switch sides. Like, this guy who simped for Genma for like hundreds of years because he saved him as a little pup, swapped sides because of this guy? Like, that's probably just childish on his end. Like, Keiichi had absolutely nothing to do with it, but he's just there. So Hakuro gives Keiichi a toy to help relieve himself, and he did. And Keiichi snaps back to reality, and he takes out, like, he pulls out his shoe and takes out like a blood vial, and Hakuro realizes, like, oh, is that the millennial vampire blood? And Keiichi goes, it's because of this stupid thing that everybody's been trying to chase after and like deal things with me, my friend, my family, the Red Clan Society members and all that. And it turns out that Keiichi actually has the real one, and the version that Heinrich stole away was a fake. It was probably watered down or something, but it was the same thing. And Keiichi was hiding the real one under his shoe in a sock or something. And Keiichi takes the bottle, and in his like fit of like rage or something, he threw it down the toilet. He like poured it down the toilet while Hakuro was watching him. Now, this shit was crazy, because Hakuro was like, why the fuck are you doing that? What? But in that moment, Keiichi felt bad. He decided, maybe I feel a little bad. I wonder about the taste of this millennial vampire blood, because it feels like a waste. Like, you didn't just waste it a moment ago down the toilet. But then, he takes like a little sip of it, like one last drop of it, and boom, he turns into alpha vampire Keiichi. Now, I don't know, did his pheromones like explode or something? But like, Heinrich busts through the door, or like the wall or something, because he like smelt that Keiichi was different. He found out that Keiichi had the real vampire blood, and that he had the fake one, and he's mad because now he's alpha vampire Keiichi. Now they fight each other hella. They fight Dragon Ball style, teleport here, teleport there, fight, sharing punches and stuff like that. Going through doors, going through like walls, basements and stuff, like left and right, up and down, and all that. They go down to like the 43rd floor underground, and like Keiichi passes out. And the moment he passes out, not this, but there was a scene where Heinrich just the strip club area was completely like empty because obviously it was closed, but he thought Keiichi would look good on the pole, like this high school kid on a strip club pole, and whatever, man. But I don't know. Heinrich's whole purpose for like trying to like change everyone to vampires to do his bidding and stuff like that is because he wants to find the femboy twink again. But yeah, that's pretty much it, man. But he wants to be strong too. So I mean, the millennial vampire blood could be pretty helpful too. Anyways, so Keiichi passes out after they like share punches on like the 43rd floor. I think it's 43. And he passes out. He sees the life tree again, but he sees his little dad. His little dad says, "Keiichi, wake up. You must wake up now. Now is not the time. You have some important matters to take care of." And Keiichi wakes up, and he slowly walks to Heinrich. Apparently, Heinrich on the other side has been waiting for Keiichi to get up so they can share more punches and stuff like that. Like he's fair. He's actually fair about it. And Keiichi walking up to him, he takes Heinrich's hand, and Heinrich is confused because like why would he do that? But he put it to his stomach, and Heinrich asks, "Is this your ancient millennial vampire blood coursing through your veins that's just so strong that you wanted to show me?" And Keiichi's like, "No. He's pregnant." But then how the fuck did this happen? How is he pregnant as an alpha? Well, he wasn't alpha the time that they slept together, so that's... Oh my god. So Heinrich hearing that, he is shocked. But this guy, he dropped everything. He's like, well, let's get married then. He like stepped up to be like the father and everything, and the husband, and they held their wedding underground, and Keiichi's pregnant and stuff like that. They invited all the Red Clan Society members, which they obviously all hated coming, but they're all here to support Keiichi, except for his best friend Tani. Like he's so happy that Keiichi's like marrying the popular TV show actor and everything. Like, wow. And yeah, they got married in Heinrich's basement, and the thing with Heinrich's basement is that it's basically like a burial ground for all of his like village people. So technically his family was also there to in the audience to see him get married and stuff like that. And there was an old dude who is a survivor from the village too, but he's always taken care. I think he's some butler or something, but he's always taken care of Heinrich. And he was crying tears because Heinrich was the happiest he'd ever been. And then that guy who was like overseeing the whole like, overseeing the vows and stuff like that, he just walked out and like disintegrated in the sun because he was so happy for Heinrich. And might as well just, yeah. So the happy ending, they all get married. It turned out that Heinrich didn't even know that the 43rd place existed, because this is actually a human blood farm, and that's a little too far for him. It's not a good place for the baby to be in, you know? So, well, not actually in there, but just around it. So he fired the glasses dude or his henchman, and like, I don't know, sent this guy to jail or whatever, because he has morals. And yeah, they got married happily ever after. Do I remember a bad ending? I can't remember. Whatever. It's funny. Our last route is Aoi Setsuna. This is your best friend. He's a senpai. He saved you. He saved Keiichi from like a bullying incident. And the other day at school, he like gave baby Keiichi, who was like, yeah, he gave baby Keiichi like a legal guardian consent form so he could technically be Keiichi's legal guardian, and it worked for some reason. But he's the grandson of the artificial blood developer, and he works at the Oi pharmaceutical company, and stuff like that. He's a beta. Besides that, to do his route, you're supposed to stay around. Obviously, as Keiichi's super mad that he's an Omega vampire, especially a vampire. And both Keiichi and Oi met up at Oi's always said that he's busy and stuff like that. So Keiichi he was demanding. He wanted answers. Why is he an Omega vampire? Why did this stuff have to happen to him? So they met up outside. And Keiichi like slaps Oi in the face. It rightfully so, because he didn't want this stuff to happen to him. But you know, it was all that it takes. This was needed to bring back Keiichi because it saved his life and everything. This ancient millennial vampire blood, he just had to do it. And then he was saying things that we all have monsters inside of us, and his face gets real dark and stuff like that. But then at some point, Keiichi and Oi become roommates, and Oi is obviously so busy with his work and stuff like that I don't know. Keiichi goes from like absolutely hating, like, why blaming this guy that he's like an Omega vampire and stuff like that. But then he like 180s and goes, oh my god, Oi's always been working and stuff like that. He makes me bentos in the morning and drops me off at school and like says, have a nice day and stuff like that. Oh my god, Oi. I wish I got to know his feelings for me and stuff like that. And, like, Keiichi would see like important documents on the table, on their like kitchen table, and they'd all be blacked out and stuff like that, but Keiichi doesn't care, you know? Like, there's this one time that Keiichi just sees Oi's, like, lab coat on the floor and smells it and does things to it, and then Oi, like, opens the door, but he's, like... This Oi is weird. In the sense that he's, like, bipolar, so there are some times that he can act very, like, very motherly, very kind, but then there are other times that he's very cold, oddly cold, and Keiichi just, like, he's so sad because why is he so cold? It feels like I'm taking, like, a step closer to him, but then 10 steps back because he's always so cold towards me. I don't know. So Keiichi begs so that he can drink like Oi's blood, because apparently vampires can taste like emotions. So maybe if he tasted Oi's emotions or something, that he'd get to know him better. But then Oi said absolutely not. Do not do it. Never do it. And but he'll give Keiichi something else that if Keiichi finishes this job for him, then maybe something will happen. Maybe he'd get to tell him the whole truth of everything. Now with this task that he's given to Keiichi is a school student by day, but now he's like some sort of hunter at night. He tells Keiichi that there are apparently like 20 test subjects, or actually 20 subjects that escaped from the pharmaceutical research company, and that it's up to Keiichi to either capture them dead or alive. It doesn't matter, as long as they're not terrorizing people. So Keiichi goes on those missions, and obviously it's been taking a toll at him. He's been like not very too happy at school and stuff like that, and is just like sitting under the shower a bit longer because it's obviously been weighing down on Keiichi and stuff like that. But nearing towards like, I don't know, the 15th or something like that, Keiichi finds this huge monster, and this monster calls out to Keiichi, like, Keiichi, Keiichi. How did it know his name? He doesn't know. But then Keiichi just like gets rid of him. And he's been up thinking about it at night. Like, why did this thing know my name? Like, is there something much more deeper, something much more connected or whatever? And then it leads us to our last subject to capture, like the 20th or something. This guy, Oi tells Keiichi that this guy can shapeshift. This guy will say things and just, he'll say many lies just to save himself. So Keiichi would, or should not really listen to him. Apparently, according to the GPS caller location tracker, this guy's at an abandoned warehouse again. And this abandoned warehouse has been littered with bombs. Now, Oi is still human. He's human. But Keiichi talks to Oi that he should just like stay outside, and that Keiichi would take care of the matter himself solo. So Keiichi goes by himself, and he goes to the very top floor to find out, or to find this 20th vampire that is very dangerous. With the vampire, it turns out that it's his brother. It's basically him. And the brother tells Keiichi that it's gonna be a long story, but it turns out that, you know, all the 20 other test subjects that you've been tasked to like take care of, apparently they were all versions of Keiichi that has been tested on by the century millennial vampire blood, and that this version of Keiichi is the only first successful one. So Keiichi's basically been taking care of all of his other versions of himself, his other brothers, that the Oi Pharmaceutical Research Company had just let loose and is telling this Keiichi to get rid of all the other Keiichis. And you can either choose to believe your brother or not, but for some reason, if you do, like, the whole place just blows up and then both of you guys die. But if you don't, this leads to Oi showing up himself and going, "Don't be fooled, don't believe in this guy." And he like unveils his lab coat and throws a whole bunch of scalpels. It doesn't matter which ending or whatever, like, your brother still dies, which is unfortunate. And then like I don't know how different this thing happens, but one of the endings is that the whole place blows up again, and then both you, Keiichi and Oi are trapped under the rubble, and Keiichi reaches over. Oi is obviously bleeding out and dying, and Keiichi drinks Oi's blood in that moment. But obviously, Oi told you not to do it. And so, Keiichi still does so anyway. And he wakes up, but this Keiichi's different. Q looking up at the night sky, and this Keiichi going, "Mwahaha." And this Keiichi is not even Keiichi anymore. He goes, "Finally, I have this body." and it just like cuts and ends, which is weird, but okay. Another ending happens. Well, it's explained later, but another ending happens where like Oi actually dies. Like I think um yeah, Oi actually dies and Keiichi's just like left alone at the warehouse. He waited till like the other pharmaceutical research people to come and show up, and they put Keiichi in prison. But then Keiichi's been super sad because Oi's dead and everything. But then after like 2 days pass of him being depressed, he sees in the corner of his eye another Oi, and it turns out that Oi has had clones of himself, and they've constantly like backed up his memory and stuff like that. So this is still Oi. It's just that it's a clone of himself, but Keiichi, it doesn't matter to Keiichi, and Keiichi just follows him willy-nilly, like, yay, it's Oi again. It's like, yo, yeah, I remember you, Keiichi, yeah, and things like that. And Oi has to keep, like, back upping his memory and things like that, because obviously he's the grandson. He's, like, someone could kidnap him and stuff like that, and just, like, do things. So there's that ending. Anyway, so the good ending happens is that your brother still dies, and while you see that Oi is throwing all those scalpels and like avoiding moves and stuff like that, you notice that he doesn't seem very human for some reason. So both of you guys leave, and Oi is like holding himself. He's like shaking. He's holding his shoulders and everything, and tells Keiichi to back off. Like, back off! Don't touch me! And in the moment that he's like shaking and stuff like that, he tells Keiichi that the reason why he hasn't had Keiichi to like drink his blood or anything like that is that in his bloodstream has his grandpa's blood in it. I mean, yes, but then his grandpa's blood is actually like brainwashing. So the times that Oi has been super bipolar has been his grandpa the entire time. So I think like replaying his route and then noticing the time that he's been super like bipolar, especially during that time when Keiichi is getting a little funny with his lab coat and this always seemed just pretty cold, could mean that his grandpa is yeah, I'm not gonna go too much into that, but in that moment, Keiichi no, in the moment Oi couldn't hold it anymore. Like this it's brainwashing him. It's telling him to like kill you and stuff like that. But Keiichi embraces him. He drinks his blood. Now, I don't know what part of Keiichi told him to do that, but then like in the other route with Hakuro, it happened again. Like Keiichi drinks Oi's blood, but then also like has his, I don't know, sends his own blood to Oi, and this completely eradicates like Oi's grandpa cells in him, and Oi's just back to normal now. And then they like happily ever after, and like I don't know, like Oi's weird, man. Like he gets kidnapped in other routes, but then he cares for you. Like he loves to watch Keiichi's like vital signals and stuff like that. But then like the reason he's being bipolar is his grandpa taking control of him. And the thing is, like, it wasn't explained too much, but apparently this grandpa is like some like meaty machine thingy like in the underground basement, and it's just like that was not too talked about, but whatever, man. And in the ending where Keiichi gets up after drinking Oi's blood and everything, like, that was the grandpa finally getting into Keiichi's Omega vampire body or something. I don't know. Yeah, that's Oi's root anyway. God. But there's still one last route, and that's after playing through everybody else's, that Keiichi has the chance. In his dreams, he hears that something's been calling out to him in the Antarctic, and Keiichi, looking around at his friends, the Red Clan Society members, Heinrich, Aoi, and Hakuro and everything, Keiichi decides maybe not. But then he, at some point, decides to visit his old, like, grandpa's, like, family, or their dad's old homes and stuff like that at the grandpa's place. And I think this is where it was revealed that Keiichi's grandpa was like, I believe he used to work at the Oi Pharmaceutical Research Company, but he's long passed away and stuff like that. But then underground in the basement, there were some test tubes. Now, this is interesting. And then it was never brought up again. And then it time skips or something. No. It switches perspective to two people in the Antarctic. And it's revealed that the femboy twink is still alive. He's just in the Antarctic. And that's pretty much it. But, yeah, that's Omega Vampire. I'll link the trailer and stuff like that, and I hope you get to play Omega Vampire. Like, I don't know, like, I hope you're enlightened by this Omega Vampire slideshow, and that it was incredible. Thank you for being here. Well, I'm just... Bye.